Hey guys, Snowbeck here. If you remember some previous videos, I talked about my 77 Mustang. Had a little bit of a wiring issue. I was struggling to get it started, so been doing a little bit of work on it, and I had a buddy of mine come over and we kind of messed with it, and I was trying to think that it was something other than the starter because I had just had the starter rebuilt and I installed the starter. So I thought maybe there's no way it can be the starter. It's just it's basically brand new. Well, guess what? It's the starter. So any of you people out there who have ever put a starter in a Mustang 2, it's not a fun job. So I'm going to take you over there. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to make a video on how I pulled the starter out, put the new starter in, and what kind of a job it is and what a pain in the ass it is. So let's go over to the 77 and take a peek, and I'll show you exactly what I'm going to do. And then the next video I do is going to be the disassembly of everything to get to the starter, pull the starter out and put the new one in, and then hopefully it starts right up. Because I'm going to be putting a cam and lifters and a new carburetor, a new intake, and all that stuff on that car. But before I do all that, I want to make sure that it's actually in perfect running condition first. So I don't want to do all of that work and then it won't start, So I want to make sure that it was starting first. We'll put all that stuff in. That's just one less problem I got to figure out. So let's go take a look at that, and we'll see how that goes over there. Okay, so here's the 77. I got it on my lift, and for those of you who don't have a lift, when you're putting these headers, taking the headers off and on these cars, you got to get this car way up in the air because these headers come down so far and they got to tilt. And if you can't get it in the air far enough, it's a real hassle. So the nice thing about having a lift is you can get this thing way up in the air and get this, that way you got plenty of room to tilt the headers. So basically is what we got to do, and we're going to pull these headers. So the bolts are real easy. They're pretty simple to get to here. The headers are easy on this part of it. Okay, so we're going to pull the headers, pull all the spark plugs. I got to take the valve cover off because if you notice, the edge of the header is actually a little bit behind the valve cover. So this needs to come off in order to let this raise up and tilt to come down out of the bottom. So, and if you look real close down there, you can kind of see, that got in the way. You can see there's a starter. You see where the starter is. You can see it down there a little bit in between the header tubes. So the starter's right there. And the starter on this car, it needs to come up through the top. And as you can see, there's only a few inches here on a stock with everything mounted the way it's supposed to be. Okay, so here's the starter. I just happen to have two of them. So this is a gear reducer starter with the solenoid is on the starter. And the problem with, that's the shop dog. He's going to work on the starter a minute for me. So the problem with mine is the starter spins, but the Bendix isn't popping out on the one that's in there. So, and I just took this thing and had it rebuilt, so I didn't think that I should have had that problem. Now, if this starter didn't have this giant flange on the front, it would come right up, probably come right up through there with not too much effort, because this is a small starter because of the gear reducer. But the problem is, you can see, look at the size difference. You can't get that thing through there. So it's kind of a nightmare to try and get that worked up through there. So basically, we're going to, then I got to get down. I'm going to put this up. We're going to take the rest of the exhaust off on this side. So we're going to pull this header out. And then I'm going to, once this car is in the air, then I'm going to get the floor jack underneath. We're going to take the motor mount. We're going to take this motor mount loose. Then I'm going to put the floor jack underneath of this engine, and we're going to have to lift this side of the engine up about four inches or so. And with the header gone, the engine lifted, then that starter will come right up out of the top. So in the next couple of days, I'm going to start tearing everything apart, and I'll kind of show you some bits and pieces. You know, I won't bore you with the entire process nonstop, but we'll get the header off. We'll show you that. Get the exhaust off. We'll get the engine lifted up. Get the starter out, and then once we get that back in, I'm gonna pull the plug on the coil, and hopefully that thing turns over. So if that thing turns over, then we're gonna plug it in, put it all back together, and then we're gonna start on this. I got an electronic distributor. This one still has points in it. This the car's a 77, but this is like a 74 302. So it's still got points on it. So we're gonna change that. Looking to change that over to electronic ignition. I've got a 600 Holley. I got an Edelbrock intake for it, and that ought to, and with the cam and the lifters, and that ought to wake this motor up pretty decent. So, and then we'll get her all cleaned up in here real nice. So when I do we'll do the starter in one video, and then we'll do another video where we change all of this stuff, which will be pretty cool. So obviously, you know, in preparation, everything in the front is going to have to come off. Well, because the bracket for the power steering is all there. I'm just going to lay that over, but everything's going to come off the front. The radiator's got to come out, and I'm taking this whole grill. I don't have to take all this, but I'm going to take the grill insert out, because that way the cam is going to go straight through here, and to get inserted in there. So trying to make it as easy as possible. So we'll do that, and that'll be pretty interesting for those of you who are thinking about changing a starter. Even with an exhaust manifold, you still got to do all the same stuff, because that exhaust manifold, it sticks out almost as far as these headers do. I mean, it probably sticks out to here. So that thing would still have to come off. So it's still a pain in the butt. If somebody knows an easier way, please let me know. But it doesn't seem like the bottom, like there's a cradle that just drops everything down from the bottom. You got the power steering rack runs right across, so you can't really get to anything. So this seems to be the easiest way I've figured it out, and that's not really that easy at all. So the nice thing about doing this is you can take as much time as you want. You don't have to be on the road tomorrow. So if I don't get it done when I start it, I can do it the next day or the day after that. It doesn't even matter. So it can sit here as long as it takes. So until then, until we get that, then I'll talk to you next time.